Kenny, I'm glad you're here because James texted me something last night, and I want to loop you in on this discussion.
Oh, no.
D'Lo and KC coming up. No, it's not. It's an interesting thing you said.
Canada's in Detroit, just so you know.
Detroit, that's right. But he did go to the Brewers for a second. He was in Milwaukee for a hot second. I think he got traded there last year. Anyways, doesn't matter. James texted me last night while Myles Turner was ripping it up for the Pacers. Really fun game. Really fun game one. I hope the entire series goes like that. He said, how did Myles Turner and Domas not work? And the conclusion I came to, because Myles Turner is the exact type of player, when we talk about a big that can fit next to Domas, it's like, dude, this guy can knock down threes. He plays defense like hell. Like, yeah, this guy. Yeah. Now, one, I think Domas didn't play a huge role in Indiana the entire time he was there the same way he does in Sacramento. Two, they never really got a full season together. There was the pandemic season. Then there was the following season that was a shorter year, 77 games. Was it?
72.
72 games?
Yeah.
The next year. Yeah. And then he got traded the next year. But the biggest problem that I landed on was the rest of that roster was just kind of ass.
Yeah, I mean the roster, you could talk about the coaching. I mean, we do this for a living, right? About, this player this player's good, this player's no good, and he ain't never won this and all this other stuff. Man, a lot of this stuff in all the sports, and really, to be honest with you, if we want to go even deeper in life, it's circumstantial. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like in your situation, you talk about Indiana, the players in theory may have been right when you talk about Sabonis and Turner, but what was the rest of the roster looking like? What was the coaching looking like? What was the philosophy of the coaching staff? Like, did it fit the strengths of Sabonis and Turner? And if you had Sabonis and Turner with Mike Brown, or better yet, when you talk about offensively, a guy like Jay Triano, would he be able to unlock everything? So you just never know sometimes. And sometimes you get in situations that are beneficial for you or for the player. And sometimes you get in situations that are the exact opposite, and they're kind of a detriment to what you try to do or your strengths or something like that.
Yep.
And we're all just going around life, going around the NBA, looking for the right situation. Some people find them, some people never do.
Yeah,
profound.
It's just, for me, it's very intriguing to see how that is the guy. Like, you're watching Myles Turner pull up top of the key and launching threes like nonstop. I guess maybe it would be better if he shot more corner threes or something. But still, you're like, shot blocker, check. Defensive minded guy, check. 3-point shooter, check. Rim runner for Malik Monk and what he does, check. And then there's that game where Myles Turner had like the gigantic game where he scored 50, right? 50 something. And that was with Domas dishing to him the whole time. Like, there were times where it worked, but overall, like, that should have worked perfectly. And again, it does matter. You need the floor spacers. You need a guy like Fox to break stuff down. You need, like, there are other elements you need, and maybe they just never found the right ingredients. I just think it's weird.
The one thing I would say on the defensive side of things, I'm not sure how that will work out, because yes, Myles Turner is athletic enough to to not embarrass himself when being switched on, to guards or something like that. But when we talk about Myles Turner, we're like, oh, that's the rim protector that you need.
Yeah, right.
Well, if he's the rim protector, that means if it's a 4-out-1-in situation, say they play in Dallas, I mean, Sabonis gonna have to go guard PJ Washington.
That's fine. He's got him. Hey, he got all defense votes.
He did get all defense more than De'Aaron Fox. So, but I mean, that's just without like really looking into it and thinking about it. That might be an issue a little bit on the defensive end.
Sure.
Having those two bigs. Do we know who the coach was at that time?
Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan, a good coach too.
But Nate McMillan is like very, very by the book, very regimented, and very defensive minded, not wanting to, like, he could not handle what's happening right now with their team at all. Like, Nate's a good coach. I like Nate. Yep. Like, even there was a time where I thought he would have been a really good coach for Sacramento. But this is one of those deals where it's like, hey, like when they hired Dave Yeager, before Dave became available, Nate McMillan was like my leader in the club. I was the guy I would have hired just because the stories of how he helps young players become men, like, really is cool. But he's called the sergeant for a reason. Like it's very, very by the book and very regimented. And if you break, he's not okay with you. And like him and Jamal Crawford, that whole like what happened there, where Jamal's like, well, he said, well, I'm gonna get Jamal to play defense. He just looked over him like at the press conference, like, yeah, coach, I don't do that.
Yeah, no chance, no chance. Strictly for buckets.
Yeah.
Just real quick, because it kind of did work in the 2019-20 season.
I was about to say they made the playoffs and the play-in. I think.
So they won. So they went to the playoffs 2 years in a row. They got swept 2 years in a row. Once by Boston and once by Miami. And that 2019-2020 season, they went 45-28, and you had Domas playing a ton of minutes. TJ Warren played a ton of minutes. Malcolm Brogdon, Myles Turner, but then it's like Jeremy Lamb. You had 19 games of Victor Oladipo. Then it's Justin Holiday. Then it's Aaron Holiday, and then it's Doug McDermott. It's just like, that's just not enough.
Well, it's like when we went back and looked at the Kings roster and I'm not excluding myself.
Also, Domas is only 23 then as well, still finding his way in the NBA.
But we talked about, we would have these long show discussions about, I don't know if it's going to work out with Tyrese and De'Aaron. They're just too similar. I don't know if it's going to work out. Then we went and looked at a box score, and it was Tyrese. The starting lineup was Tyrese, De'Aaron, Chimezie Metu, Mo Harkless, and whoever the center was. And I was like, yeah, that's probably more why they didn't win.
No.
That's probably more the reason why they didn't win, as opposed to De'Aaron and Tyrese not being able to play together.
Yeah.
But, it's what we do.
Someone wise once told me everything in life is circumstantial.
It's a wise man. That's a wise man. Was Sabonis on the team when that backup center tried to run up on the coach? I remember they made the play-in that year, but that happened like 2 or 3 games left in the season, and they were never right.
I don't remember.
With Indiana, I don't remember who the backup center is.
It's not Gadzuric, because that was a center from UCLA. But
Jakar Sampson?
No.
Oh no,
legend.
Bidets Goga,
maybe so. And I don't even know if it was the head coach. It might
Goga
have been
Biadish.
Yeah.
It might have been the assistant coach, but he tried to run up on him after a timeout.
Bataze, there we go. Good call.
And we all knew Indiana was cooked at that point. They made it to the play-in and lost in the first game.
Karis LeVert got a lot of burn on that team too. Oof.
Yeah.
Who was that coach though? Do we
the next year? So in 2020, 2021, that was Nate Bjorkgren. He was only there 1 year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him. Okay, and that's one of the shortened seasons.
Sabonis was there, right? Sabonis and Turner played on that team.
Yes.
Yes, and that is Goga Bataze.
Bataze,
yeah, it was there. So I don't remember that situation, but he was on that roster.
Yeah, he ran up on him in for a timeout or something like that.
Yeah, I would just look at their roster and say,
the assistant coach,
how many players were left in the league? How many players from that team were in the league still 2 years later?
Not that many.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this and Brian Bowen, Amita Brima. I don't even remember that player at all out of UConn.
We're gonna go now.
Okay.